My friends, it's happening again. YouTube has changed the algorithm and they are removing subscribers from my channel at a ridiculous rate. At this moment, you may have been unsubscribed from my channel without any warning or notification. So I'm asking you to please make sure that you are still subscribed and have the notification bell selected so you'll receive updates when I post videos. And if you are not subscribed, please take a moment and do so. Help us keep fighting this war to save pop culture from the predations of cultural vandals and the wokeness of these corporations. We are winning this war as more companies turn away from wokeness, but the price of freedom is eternal vigilance, and we must all band together to stop this onslaught against Western civilization. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you would. And now, on to the video. Greetings, my friends. I am Dictor Van Doomcock, the future ruler of Earth, broadcasting from my hidden base at the center of the Earth, and today I stand before you to gloat over the suffering of the Walt Disney Corporation. For years and years now, Disney has been shafting their investors, burning potential investor profits on the altar of wokeness. You see, I've long stated that Disney is no longer a for-profit company. For the past decade, Disney has been much more concerned with spreading the political ideology of a tiny minority of obnoxiously loud snowflakes than with making money for their investors and stockholders, which is generally believed to be the primary mission of a corporation. Seemingly, however, the Disney board doesn't give two shits for making money. All these idiots give a damn about is spreading queerness wherever they can, smashing the so-called patriarchy, indoctrinating children into LGBTQ modes of thinking, and trying to reprogram you and your children, indeed all of Western civilization, into thinking the way they think, internalizing their woke worldview, and shaming the vast majority of the American population for things that happened in the past before they were even born. That's their ultimate aim, brainwashing the public with less than entertaining entertainment. But sadly for Iger and the board, Disney can only shun profits for so long before it comes time to pay for their lack of vision and disdain for investors, and it looks like that time may be about to come. Yesterday, a flood of articles appeared proclaiming that Nelson Peltz, head of Trian Fund Management, has quietly been amassing massive amounts of stock and is now moving against the Disney board with two aims: securing a pair of seats on the Disney board to force Disney to stop pissing away money on gay public service announcements, and firing Bob Iger and his allies who allowed Disney to become a damn money pit.
Ouch! I guess this is what happens when a company decides it wants to be rainbow-colored instead of green. That ain't no way to win investors and influence the stock market, Doomcock.
Indeed. Disney's mantra for the past 10 years has been woke agenda over investor profit, and now investors are fighting back, with lawsuits, as I pointed out in previous videos, but also now in the form of Nelson Peltz, who seeks to place his people on the board, shift the balance of power at Disney, and some say, fire Iger as CEO. Yesterday morning, Deadline posted an article titled, "Another Headache for Disney. Activist investor Nelson Peltz is back and said to be seeking board seats." And in this article, they lay out the basics. Quote, "Activist investor Nelson Peltz, who dropped a long battle with Disney earlier this year, has amassed a large stake in the media giant and is said to be seeking board seats. Peltz's Trian Fund, one of Disney's largest investors with a stake valued at upward of $2.5 billion, is expected to request multiple seats on the board of directors, including one for himself, according to the Wall Street Journal, citing people familiar with the matter. The investor abandoned his proxy fight with Disney in February.
And yet, as you and your sources predicted at the time, Peltz wasn't really going away. He was just making a strategic withdrawal, giving Iger a chance to right the ship. But instead of that, the ship is sinking, right along with the stock.
Correct, Harvey Cthulhu. That stock has only just risen as a result of the market hearing that Peltz is trying to take these very actions, which the market is reacting to positively because, guess what? Stock markets like profit. Over the last 10 months, Peltz has been taking advantage of Disney's failures to grab himself more stock at cheap prices, a lot more stock. Disney had a hard time stopping him before, but now they're so exposed and vulnerable, they're shitting their brightly colored red pants. Because Peltz is looking to reshape Disney fundamentally and turn it back into, oh horror of horrors, a for-profit enterprise. And to do that, he's coming for Iger. In an article on foxbusiness.com called Disney Facing Activist Investor Nelson Peltz Again, they write, quote, activist investor Nelson Peltz is planning a new board challenge at Walt Disney less than 10 months after the home of Mickey Mouse laid out plans that addressed his criticism. Peltz is now expected to ask Disney for multiple board seats, including one for himself, a person familiar with the matter told the Wall Street Journal, unquote. Now, pay attention to this next part, folks, because this is why Disney is quaking in their bright yellow clown shoes, quote. Meanwhile, the New York-based hedge fund has grown its ownership of Disney five-fold since the end of the second quarter, when a regulatory filing showed it owned 6.4 million Disney shares, according to Reuters, unquote. Disney has sputtered and whined to the SEC in response to this latest attempt to force a course correction on Disney, and what they said is fucking hilarious. Get this, folks, quote, Disney also alleged Trian's analysis of the company's financial transactions was fundamentally flawed, while also refuting a series of reported claims from Peltz on his intentions to remove Bob Iger as CEO and Disney's lack of strategy, operating initiatives, and new ideas, unquote.
New ideas? Disney is the most creatively bankrupt studio in Hollywood. Oh, Disney has new ideas, all right. All of them terrible. Snow White and the 7 magical methadone addicts instead of dwarves. Little Mermaid with a mermaid of color and rap songs by the clown that wrote Hamilton. They have plenty of ideas. The problem is those ideas are mostly remaking classic movies and making them worse.
Notice the most important part of that article, though. Talk about denial. Disney was trying to refute a series of reported claims from Peltz on his intentions to remove Bob Iger as CEO? What the fuck? Talk about delusion. How can Disney refute what Peltz is stating is his intention? If he says he's gunning to replace Iger as CEO, believe me, he's gunning to replace Iger as CEO. These people, I swear to God, they're hilarious. But to your point, Skull of Calderon, Disney's mismanagement has become notorious and plain as the noses on investors' faces. Agenda, not profit, is king at Disney, and now the bill is coming due. An excellent example is the recent debacle of the Little Mermaid live-action remake with an Ariel of color and horrific new songs by woker than woke Lin-Manuel Miranda. The only purpose of this unnecessary, degraded, and inferior remake of their classic film was the agenda of replacing a red-headed woman with a woman of color, because God forbid white people should play any role in society, literature, or art moving forward, right? Well, turns out this is a classic example of why Peltz is targeting Disney and gunning for Iger, because despite all their bullshit and lies, turns out Disney lost a lot of money on Little Mermaid, the latest in a string of box office failures that focused on woke politics at the expense of investors. In an article published on Outkick.com titled Disney's Financial Disasters Are Even Worse Than Previously Reported, they expose the truth. Quote, the modern Walt Disney Company is the poster child for the dangers of corporate political overreach. And it turns out that their financial situation is even worse than they've previously acknowledged. Disney's prolific ability to shoot itself in the foot has manifested itself in rapidly decreasing theme park attendance and interest. It's manifested itself in an unnecessary conflict with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis that resulted in the company losing special governance over the Walt Disney World property, and it's manifested itself in box office grosses with a string of openly political films flopping in spectacular fashion. It's no wonder that the company's share price recently sunk to the lowest levels in a decade. But for all the unfolding disasters, newly released information has shown that the bad news for Disney was even worse than they'd previously acknowledged, and it's all thanks to their remake of The Little Mermaid. The company previously tried to claim that the 2023 release essentially broke even, with public reports that the film's budget was around $250 million. Turns out, a new Forbes report revealed it was actually around $300 million. Before marketing and promotional costs, which usually close to double a film's budget, actually many people say triple, but never mind, The Little Mermaid grossed $569 million worldwide, meaning it could potentially have lost Disney well over $100 million in losses. Things are going great. Buzz Lightyear, The Little Mermaid, Strange World, Elemental, Haunted Mansion, Disney can't stop failing. Former CEO Bob Chapek tried to keep his company out of unnecessary political battles before being overwhelmed by woke employees demanding their ideology be publicly supported and conformity enforced. Bob Iger initially stated he intended to continue fighting to incorporate politically progressive messages into children's entertainment, but the company's sinking finances forced him to admit that they need to tone down their culture war sentiments, unquote.
Looks like it's too little too late, Bob. Bob Iger is coming for you. He wants 2 seats on the board, and he wants you out. I guess the woke party was going to end eventually, and it looks like that day has arrived.
It's possible Disney might find a way to stop Peltz this time, but like Gary Mitchell in Where No Man Has Gone Before, you can stop Peltz for a little while, but then his eyes start glowing again, and Peltz stands back up and says, "I'll just keep getting stronger. You know that, don't you?" Since his last takeover attempt, Peltz's shares of Disney increased 5-fold, 500%. If it doesn't work this time, he'll be back with 10 times the stock next time. And all the while, the Disney board will keep helping him out, dropping Disney stock lower and lower, and helping Peltz buy up more and more shares at a very steep discount. The woke party's over, Disney. Sooner or later, you won't be able to walk out on the bill anymore. From the center of the earth, this is Dictor Van Doomcock bidding you all, my friends, stay angry. Ha 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 ha.